So today we have some bodyweight movements, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. So I wanted to take some time since we haven't to talk about the pull-up position. For a lot of people, pull-up is a big goal to get a strict pull-up. Okay, so the idea behind it is we need to attack the pull-up in many different ways instead of just sticking with one scale or one version of the pull-up to try to get it. Too many times we stick to just one way of, maybe it's ring rows or maybe it's the banded pull-up, right? So we need to make sure that we're attacking the pull-up in multiple ways, kind of giving different looks at the muscle, make sure that we're building all the musculature that it takes to do a pull-up, right? So today I'm going to show you slightly different. A lot of times we use the band across the rig method, where I have a band across this way. That's great and it's a good scale, but if you start to use too much of the band or it's too heavy of a band, it really doesn't give you a lot of activation at the bottom and maybe a little bit at the top, but sometimes even not enough at the top, right, when you're doing on a band. So if you're using a small band, you're able to get that activation all the way through. Maybe it's a good idea, but not all the time. Or then we use ring rows and we're in this position and we're doing more of a horizontal pull-up. It's good because we need to have those different types of pulls, horizontal and vertical, but we can also, there's another option to scale a pull-up that really helps us understand and focus and engage the entire range of motion. Okay? And we'll call it just kind of a seated ring pull. All right, so come on in so that you can hear me. So one way of doing it is to set up the rings to where when I'm at full extension, my butt's just slightly off the floor. So these are gonna be good for me. So my butt's not sitting on the floor, it's just off it, right? So what I'm trying to do here is get my torso vertical, right? So it turns into a horizontal the minute I start to lean back, right? So what I wanna do is I wanna get in full extension, try to get my torso as vertical as possible. So what I'm doing is using my feet to as close as I can to my body, and I'm pushing my butt back towards it so that now my hands, my elbows and my shoulders and my hips are in the same plane. Does that make sense? So at that point, what I'm gonna do is drive down with my scaps and pull up and have my elbows in line with my torso. The minute the elbows start to pull this way, it starts to become slightly of a horizontal and you start to get your biceps a little bit more involved in the pull, which will assist you, which is not what we want. We want to really concentrate on the lats, right? The main driver of a pull-up, which it should be. So what I'm driving here is I'm going to sit back in this position. And now I'm a vertical torso, and now I'm going to drive my elbows in this position in line with my body, squeeze and come down. Okay? To make it harder, I can pull my feet out a little bit, and now this becomes actually very difficult as long as my body is here. And now I'm pulling this direction. The minute I start to do this, is the minute it becomes a lot easier and not as beneficial, right? So it starts to become more of a ring row. So the idea is get my hips as far back, almost like I'm like pushing through like almost like a kip, right? So I want to be here in this position and drive my elbows down, and you'll feel a lot more lat activation than you would traditionally, right? So it's important to switch all those out. So one day maybe it's these, the other day maybe it's these. The other great thing that no one ever does is negatives. So jump, hold, and negative. And as long as my traps are not all the way up on negative, a lot of times you see people do negatives and they're like this, and the elbows start to come forward a little bit. You want to do a negative to where your scaps are down and you're not real kind of like trappy. Does that make sense? You need to put a band on there to help you slow that negative down. If you attack all those ways, it's going to finally get you to pull up where you need to be. Right? So anyway, that's another way to look at it.